Hi, Joshua. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. It's a
Oh,
real
thank you,
honor.
Yates, for having me with you.
So, you're the co founder and partner in charge of the chemical, pharmaceutical, and biotech department at Nate Goldberg and Meyer. You have many years' experience in IP in the US. How is the current COVID-19 situation affecting the sector in general, and which are the major changes you've seen in the last few months?
It's a really great question, Yates. And what I've seen, number one, of course, as with just about every other sector, the first immediate challenge was how do we manage doing all our work, staying connected with our clients, making sure things are done the right way when we can't all be in the office at the same time. So, we were very office focused, very office centric. And now we can't be that way. We can't all be here, practicing safe social distancing, keeping our people safe. So we've had to put in a whole new infrastructure, a whole system that allows us to work remotely, but still make sure our clients are protected and make sure that everything that needs to get done is getting done. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that while we still have plenty of work to do, and people are still doing a lot of innovation, still researching, still doing all sorts of things, a lot of people have been a lot slower to pay. And that's been very challenging for us as a small business. How do we get through this time until people come back online and are able to actually pay their bills? I know a lot of it, especially for companies, universities outside the US, it's because their financial office is closed. There's nobody there. So what do we do and how do we manage through that while being sensitive to our clients and our clients' needs, but also being sensitive to, hey, we have a business to run and without money, we're not going to be here.
So, have you seen any of the clients going bankrupt? Like, have they defaulted totally?
We have not seen anybody default totally yet, thankfully. And, knock on wood here, hopefully that continues and stays that way. But it has been a significant slowdown.
So you work across a wide range of technology areas. Have you seen this COVID-19 situation having a financial impact on IP stakeholders, on some technologies over others?
That's a really interesting question. Of course, anybody who's in the medical field, um, they're doing a lot more research. They're really focused on COVID-19 these days, sometimes to the exclusion of other things. But one of the really interesting things, and all the people and researchers I've talked with, they're all, while excited about their different findings and how it can help treat or prevent COVID-19 infections, they're all very cautious. And they all say that it's important for there to be a lot more research and study of whatever it is they're doing. So what we're seeing is a lot more maybe provisional patent applications to get a priority date before knowing, is this really worthwhile pursuing? Is there something here? Because everybody, wants to, of course, if it is something valuable, have rights for it, but they don't know for sure yet if it's valuable or not, requires further study. So we're seeing a lot more reliance on that 1 year time period for doing further work than we had previously.
You work with many biotech and pharma companies, which can help with the COVID-19 situation. Have you seen more
Yeah.
collaboration among those industries in order to create something together during this time?
Oh, absolutely. There's been a tremendous amount of collaboration. And actually, where I see it most, which is should be unsurprising to anybody, is in universities. Researchers at various universities across the board are talking to their colleagues, friends at other departments, other places, not only in the same country, but around the world. And I know that's something that's common in the best of times. It's only more so now when we're not in the best of times.
So one of your specialties is develop global filing strategies for which you rely on an extensive worldwide associate network. Do you see the current situation having an impact on international collaboration?
I think the biggest impact it has on international collaboration is a financial one, where we're still doing a lot of work in a lot of different countries through our local associate network in each of those countries. But as is normal in times of economic challenge, which aside from the healthcare impacts, with the world economy being the way it is right now due to all the government closures and country closures, of course, it's a time of economic upheaval also. Companies are becoming more careful and more reticent about doing international filings and being much more focused on where they're filing, much more focused on where then they are maintaining filings they've already had. So that's definitely had an impact on what we do. There's no doubt about it. We're not doing as much international filing as we would say this time a year ago.
In the pharma and biotech and chemical field, which you focus on, have you seen cutbacks in the countries, like for maybe they're going to be using their resources, dedicating their resources in the future, and want to keep their cash flow? So are they stopping to work to do national phase filings in certain countries to sustain their cash flow to work on COVID-19 R&D?
Um, that's a really interesting question. I honestly don't know the answer to it, whether they're preserving cash flow to work on the COVID R&D, whether they're preserving cash flow to make sure the company is solvent, whether it's some other reason. I just know that, as usual, cash is king. And in times of economic distress, even more so, cash is king. And talking to my clients, they are all very concerned. How much money do we have? They're not telling me exactly all the reasons why. I'm thinking that they know that I know all the different reasons why it's important to have cash in the bank and cash on hand. So that hasn't really been a part of our conversation as to why they're preserving cash. It's more that they are.
You've been through this before. I mean, similar situations. You've been in the industry for over 23 years. You've seen 9/11, you've seen 2008, you've seen COVID-19. What would you, if you had 30 seconds or less, what would you tell the IP patent professionals around the world that rely on innovation in the US? What would you tell them in 30 seconds or less? Should they expect going forward?
Um, that's a great question. What I could say is this, having been through 9/11, having been through the 2008 economic collapse, having been through the dot-com bubble bursting, there's going to be a time of retrenchment. And yes, research is going to continue, but it's not going to be as free-flowing as it was beforehand. And budgets are going to be much tighter than they were beforehand, not just for research, but for picking which research projects to advance and for picking how those projects are going to advance. Are we going to have a US only filing strategy? Are we going to be filing around the world or more targeted in 3 or 4 countries that makes the most sense? So I think it's a matter of knowing that your clients are going to be much more selective in what they're doing. There are going to be things that they will do, and research is not going to dry up and go away, but it's not going to be as open as it was previously. The one thing I would say that feels different this time than in all the other situations I've been through is it's much more difficult for there to be collaboration right now. Yes, we all have Zoom and Teams and Skype, and it's very easy to video conference and all that, but it's much harder to get people together in a lab and go over testing together and do testing together. I have a concern that that might have an impact on the pace of research, just because people are reticent to physically be in the same space together.
Because this is a situation that has affected everybody worldwide pretty much the same, as opposed to the other situations, the financial crisis, the dot-com bubble, the 9/11, this actually could you say that this actually may bring people together to work better than in the past when it was sort of like against each other?
Well, I have seen a remarkable amount of collaboration, especially with all the video conferencing tools that are available now. I've been on many different Zoom calls with people from 3 or 4 countries around the world. And that's something we did not have before. So in that sense, yes, it is much easier to collaborate now than it was previously and in previous crises. I'm more concerned about the basic fundamental research where you need to be in a lab working on equipment. And it's good if you can do it by yourself and you're in a position where you're not in a country where it's totally locked down. You are able to at least get to your lab, but that's not true everywhere. And that's my concern, really. How is that going to have an impact?
Thank you so much, Joshua. I hope you stay safe, healthy, your child stays safe and healthy, and I hope this crisis ends soon.
Thank you very much, Yitz. I hope you and your family all stay safe and well also. And just like everyone else around the world, I hope we're nearing the end rather than still at the beginning.